The New York Knicks are a long-suffering franchise. They have all the hallmarks of a team that's perennially near the bottom of the pack, a long time since their last trip to the playoffs, a revolving door of hirings and firings of head coaches, and numerous rebuilds which have failed to come up with success. However, the Knicks once again have a new head coach and a shot at getting back to the top. And in this video, we'll talk about which draft prospect might be their new star. But first, a simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We're giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's all your choice, so be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter this giveaway. It's really that simple. The situation for the Knicks. The Knicks are once again a rebuilding team, and they haven't been in the playoffs since the 2012-2013 season. They've had a number of head coaches during that time, but none of them have been able to hold on to the job. Derek Fisher, Kurt Rambis, Jeff Hornacek, and David Fizdale have had their title since Mike Woodson was ousted. And while Woodson himself made the playoffs with the team during the 2012 season, he still only had 2 full seasons in control before being fired. The Knicks have made a lot of changes, including an unsuccessful stint with Phil Jackson running the show behind the scenes, but none of it has brought them success. Thanks to their lottery position from the 2019 season, the Knicks select 8th overall in the draft and will have a chance to make a big addition to help in turning the situation around. They also have a new head coach in Tom Thibodeau, who is most known for being Derrick Rose's former coach in Chicago. Obviously, the Rose era didn't result in a ring for Thibodeau, and the Bulls and the head coach is now in New York after an unsuccessful stint in Minnesota after leaving Chicago. He brings a reputation as a defensive coach, which might influence which players he pushes for in this year's draft. But now that the context is out of the way, which players look likely to head to New York as the team's next big-time draft pick, and which ones have the biggest chance of success in the NBA? There's no guarantee that the New York Knicks stay at number 8 in the first round. There are rumors that the team is interested in going for a more surefire star and trading up for a higher selection, maybe even as high as the 2nd pick overall. If they do manage to pull off a deal to move up to the number 2 overall pick, one of the main names on their radar will be James Wiseman. Wiseman is the top center in the draft and the top front court player in the draft in general, according to most prediction makers. And it's certain that he'll be off the board before the Knicks select if they stay with the 8th pick, instead of trading up. But Wiseman also isn't the most solid prospect we've ever seen projected to go in the top 3. There are some big upsides in his game, but also some question marks about just whether or not he's worth it as the top 3 selection. One of the biggest question marks is the lack of experience for Wiseman. He doesn't have a full season of college basketball under his belt like most one-and-done players in the NBA draft, as he was only able to play in 3 games during the college season because of eligibility trouble with the NCAA. Wiseman received funds from head coach Penny Hardaway to help with moving himself and his family to the city of Memphis, but the NCAA ruled that Hardaway had illegally acted as a booster, and Wiseman was only able to play 3 games before his eligibility was taken away. A lawsuit led to Wiseman's legal team reaching an agreement with the NCAA where he could come back after serving a 12-game suspension and donating $11,500 to charity. But Wiseman made the decision to skip straight to the NBA after missing 7 games with his suspension. He hired an agent and began preparing for the draft with only those 3 NCAA appearances under his belt, with an average of 10 rebounds per game and almost 20 points per game during that short stretch of time. Despite not having much experience playing in college, Wiseman has enough upside to be an attractive player to any team, and especially to the New York Knicks, where he would fit into their front court immediately as a big-time rebounder. Tom Thibodeau isn't an offensively minded coach, so having a player that can help in defense and rebounding would likely be the preferred outcome for the first-year Knicks head coach. The lack of experience also isn't deterring NBA scouts, because most sources still predict Wiseman to be a top 3 draft pick despite his playing time problem. If the Knicks don't trade up, he may very well go number 2 overall to the Warriors. The Minnesota Timberwolves may also have interest in taking Wiseman with the number 1 overall pick, but this doesn't seem as likely because Wiseman has said he wants nothing to do with playing for the franchise. That's not because Minnesota is a small market team, but because Karl Anthony Towns is already a strong player at that same position that would possibly keep Wiseman out of immediately moving into a starting spot at his natural position. It's easy to see why the Timberwolves would be cautious about selecting a player that has already come on the record as having this stance, but the risk of the Wolves taking Wiseman with the first pick is still something the Knicks will have to consider before they make a trade up with the intention of getting this star center prospect on their roster, Tyrese Haliburton. The New York Knicks also held the 8th pick in 2017, and when they had the same pick back then, they used it to take point guard Frank Ntilikina. The pick was something of a stretch, and while fans remained optimistic about the chances of the new rookie, the consensus was that the Knicks were taking a risk going for this raw international prospect instead of someone more established with firm chances of making it in the league. A few years on, and Ntilikina still hasn't locked up the job as a starting point guard in New York, and his starts each season have yet to reach a number one would expect from a player drafted in the top 10. He started 9, 16, and 26 games during each of his first 3 years, but was displaced for Elfrid Payton during the 2019 season. If the Knicks finally close the chapter on the Ntilikina experiment and decide to draft another point guard that might have better luck consistently starting, it's likely that one of the names on their board is Tyrese Haliburton. Haliburton may or may not be available by the time the 8th overall pick comes around, but the Knicks have a far better chance of taking him at the spot than they do of taking someone higher rated like Wiseman. Haliburton is a decently large player for a point guard at 6'5", which works well for more physical teams that Tom Thibodeau typically coaches. He has 2 total seasons in college, and while playing for Iowa State, he registered 6.5 assists per game and 5.9 rebounds per game during his final season, as well as 15 points per game. He's also considered one of the top 3 point guards in the draft. LaMelo Ball and Killian Hayes are battling for the top spot, but Haliburton looks like the available option for a team like the Knicks that might not pick high enough to secure one of the 2 higher-rated prospects. His balanced play and his contributions on both sides of the ball also make him notable in ways that Ball and Hayes don't necessarily stand out as much in. The Knicks have a lot of needs, after all. If they take this player, they might be able to deal with multiple areas of need at once. Killian Hayes. The other obvious choice for the Knicks is Killian Hayes, one of the big-name international prospects in this draft. Hayes is French, but last played in Germany, and is getting on the radar of NBA scouts for his great passing skills at the young age of 19. He began his professional career pretty young, when he made his debut for Cloette at 17, and has since moved to German club Ulm, where he has participated in both basketball Bundesliga and the Euro Cup. Hayes has less of an all-around skill set when compared to Haliburton, but he does have better numbers when it comes to passing and nothing else. Hayes had 5.5 assists per game while playing with Ulm last season, but if you look at the average per 36 minutes rather than assists per game, it jumps up to 7.8. Hayes also has professional experience, which differs from the other players on the list. While Wiseman has almost no college experience and Haliburton has 2 years at Iowa State, Hayes has been playing with professional teams since 2017 and has played against grown opponents. It might be a quicker transition to playing in the NBA for Hayes compared to prospects coming out of the NCAA who are used to a slower type of game and less athletic competition. Hayes' trainer told Yahoo Sports back in June that he didn't see why Rookie of the Year would be out of the reach for Hayes. That's a pretty big statement to make, but there might be some truth to it. A Western Conference executive also told the outlet that Hayes also has the hardest parts of his game down. Those hard parts of his game will get better with age and experience, according to this executive, which will help in the future as Hayes spends more time in the league. However, there's no consensus on when Hayes will go in the draft, and he may be taken before the Knicks can select him by another team with similar needs, such as the Bulls picking at number 4 overall or Atlanta at number 6. We'll have to just wait and see. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.